We begin at 4 o'clock with that ticking clock. In Iran tonight, President Trump is promising the entire civilization, quote, will die if a deal is not struck to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, a key route for global oil and gas transport. That deadline is 8 o'clock, so Iran has 4 hours left to comply. Good afternoon, I'm Dustin Grove.
And I'm Felicia Lawrence. The U.S. has already hit military targets today on Iran's strategic Karg Island. Here's Michael Yoshida with the latest.
President Donald Trump with a stark warning for Iran, writing, "A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. I don't want that to happen, but it probably will."
This could be a high-stakes negotiating tactic to try to get them to blink, but so far they haven't.
The threat made hours before the president's imposed 8 p.m. Eastern Time deadline for Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz and make a deal to end the war.
Whether it's positive or negative, we're going to get a response from the Iranians by 8 o'clock tonight. I hope they make the right response.
Overnight, U.S. strikes hit military targets on Iran's Karg Island, where almost all the country's oil is exported from, according to a U.S. official who added the strikes did not target oil facilities.
It's a very small place, but there's a significant amount of economic activity there, and that economic activity does in fact benefit the Iranian Revolutionary Guards and the Iranian military.
This video appearing to show a human chain forming around an Iranian power plant. Iranian state media says civilian infrastructure across the country, including railway lines and roads, have been attacked. Israel saying Tuesday its strikes are targeting railways and bridges in the country used by the military.
Going after the bridges and railroads and things like that it makes it more difficult for Russia or China to get overland support in.
In Washington, Michael Yoshida.
So what do our lawmakers think about the president's words, threatening to bomb Iran, quote, into the Stone Ages? That's what our president is saying. Emily Longnecker has their reaction with just hours to go before threats to bomb Iran's bridges and power plants could be carried out.
And those reactions are coming in from both sides of the aisle tonight, from support to the stance the president has taken to concern and questions about his strategy and the potential consequences if those threats are carried out tonight.
With Congress on a 2-week recess, members of Indiana's congressional delegation are spending time with Hoosiers and taking questions about the president's threats to end Iran's civilization.
I believe President Trump is trying to apply maximum leverage, and I hope the Iranians listen. I hope that we can bring this conflict to a close very quickly and that they reopen the Strait of Hormuz.
Democratic Congressman Andre Carson doesn't see the president's remarks the same way, calling the president's words disrespectful and reckless.
I think what has worked arguably well for him in the business world is not applicable to the global community, and I think it's showing. I think our international partners are deeply concerned.
International law experts have pointed out that bombing civilian infrastructure, unless it's also used by the military, could constitute a war crime. President Trump has said he's not concerned about committing war crimes.
And coming up tonight at 6, I'll tell you what lawmakers had to say about rising gas prices and what can be done about those. In Indianapolis, Emily Longnecker, 13 News.
And our coverage continues now with Ella Rhodes. She spoke with an international studies and political science expert from IU who also happens to be from Iran. An interesting perspective here.
Yes. And what did they tell you? What did they share with you?
Yeah. Well, Professor Hussein Banai, he describes the situation as disturbing. He spent his entire career researching and studying U.S.-Iran relations. He left Iran at just 15 years old. Now, Banai believes President Trump's threats, like the one you see on your screen, which says, quote, "A whole civilization will die tonight," end quote, are extremely serious. Banai says there's an important distinction between the regime and the people of Iran. He says they want to see an accountable, transparent government, but he worries the escalation will hurt the Iranian people most, with President Trump threatening civilian infrastructure like bridges. He also believes the conflict, quote, renewed the shelf life of the regime.
Approaching a major shift in internal Iranian politics before this war started in the way that it did. The public really was fed up. The regime was signaling itself that it might be able to internally kind of transform itself, and obviously then bombs started falling.
Benai says this conflict could rage on for quite a long time, suggesting it could become a forever war. Now, Benai also wants to remind people of the internet blackouts in Iran, which limits what people in the country know about what's happening. He has actually been in touch with some people there.
Really? Okay. I think that's what's so interesting, because as we do these reports, you want to hear from the Iranian people that are on the ground. We hear a lot from government leaders, but it's like, what are Iranian people saying?
Yeah, it's very brief. He's talked to some family and friends, and it's limited communication because they only have internet for about 30 to 45 seconds at a time. So all he really hears is that they're okay and where they're at.
And you're going to have more from him coming up at 6, right?
Exactly.
Or 5 o'clock tonight,
yes.
right?
Ahead at 5, you'll hear his perspective on the end goals for the United States and Israel.
Okay, we'll look forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you.